Salam students, let's begin with the class 8 geography. Today we are doing the revision of chapter number 2. We have already started with the revision. Today is the second part of this, okay? The chapter's name is Land, Soil, Water, Natural Vegetation and Wildlife Resources. Let's go through the content of our chapter. Land, soil, water, natural vegetation and wildlife. I hope you all remembered it very well. We have already completed with the two topics, that is land and soil. And in today's session, we'll be dealing with the remaining two topics, that is water, natural vegetation and wildlife. Let's begin with water. These are the topics that we are going to see in the water topic. We will be learning about water, then the problems of water availability, then the conservation of water resources. Now, water is a vital, renewable, natural resource, right? This is what you all know very well. 3/4 of the Earth's surface is covered with water. That is the reason our planet is also called as the water planet, right? Our Earth planet is called as the water planet because 3/4 of the Earth's surface is covered with water, right? It was in the primitive oceans that life began almost 3.5 billion years ago. But the ocean water is, however, saline and it is not fit for human consumption. You all know this very well. If we'll talk about only the fresh water on our earth, fresh water accounts for only about 2.7%. It means nearly 70% of this occurs as ice sheet and the glaciers, that is in Antarctica, Greenland and mountain regions. So due to their location, they are inaccessible. It means we cannot use that because of their location. Only 1% of fresh water is available and that is fit for human use. It is found as groundwater, as surface water in rivers and lakes, and as water vapor in the atmosphere. Now we know fresh water is therefore the most precious substance on the earth, right? See, we know very well as it is like only 2.7% is the fresh water that is available. So definitely we can say the fresh water is the most precious substance on earth. Its total water can neither be added nor subtracted from the earth. Its total volume remains constant. See, its abundance only seems to vary because it is in constant motion. You all know, like cycling through the oceans, the air, the land and back again through the process of evaporation, precipitation and runoff. I think children, you all know very well what is that process that is called as. Yes, you all are right. That is none other. This is already you have learned. This is known as the water cycle, right? Through that process, this water cycle continues to move on. If you want to understand this water cycle in detail, children, you can go through this slide. You can go through the image that has been given in this. How the process takes place in the continuous form. Like this moves on. From the soil water, it condenses, then precipitation, then again transpiration, evaporation, then it comes back to the level of our earth again. So again the transpiration takes place. So this continuous cycle goes on and that is called as the water cycle. Now we know the major factors that is leading to the shortages in the supply of river water. See, humans use huge amounts of water not only for drinking and washing. This is what you all know, but also in the process of production. Correct? So water for agriculture, industries, generating electricity through reservoirs of dams are the other uses. Like increasing population, rising demands for the food and the cash crops, increasing urbanization and the rising standards of living. These are the major factors that is leading to the shortages in the supply of water, fresh water. This is either due to drying up of water resources or due to water pollution. Now let's move further. Yeah, now we will see the problems of water availability, right? We have learnt about now recently about the water and the percentage of water that is available, right? Now we will see the problems of water availability. See, in most of Africa, West Asia, South Asia, and parts of Western USA, Northwest Mexico, even the parts of South America, and in the entire Australia, these all are the countries that are facing shortages in the fresh water supply. In many of these continents, we can say there is the shortages of the fresh water supply. Now, see these countries located in the climatic zones most susceptible to droughts. These countries they face the great problems of water scarcity. Thus, water shortage may be a consequence of variation in seasonal or annual precipitation. Now, let's understand why the larger part of the world is facing the water shortage, right? The variation in seasons or annual precipitation that leads to the shortages of water. In some areas, scarcity is caused due to overexploitation and the contamination of water sources. The countries and areas susceptible to droughts also face the water shortages. So children, these are the reasons why the larger part of the world is facing water shortage. Now, if shortages are definitely, we have to conserve it, right? Now, let's see the methods of conservation. Conservation of water resources. See, access to clean and adequate water source is a major problem that is the world is facing today. Okay, so steps have to be taken to conserve this resource, right? Even though we know water is a renewable resource, correct? But its overuse and the pollution make it unfit for use. So discharge of untreated or partially treated sewage, agricultural chemicals and industrial effluents in water bodies are major contaminants. They pollute water with nitrates, metals and pesticides. So what should be done to avoid that now? Most of these chemicals are non-biodegradable and these reach human bodies through the water only. So water pollution can be controlled by treating these effluents suitably before releasing them in the water bodies. So what should be done? The forest and the other vegetation cover slow the surface runoff and it replenishes underground water. Even the important method is like the canals used for irrigating fields should be properly lined to minimize losses by water seepage. Even water harvesting is also the important method, one of the important method to save surface runoff. Then the sprinklers effectively irrigate the area by checking water losses through seepage and evaporation. So, even in dry regions with high rates of evaporation, drip or the trickle irrigation is also very useful. So, the valuable water resource can therefore be conserved by adopting these means of irrigation. Now, what is rainwater harvesting, children? Rainwater harvesting, it is the process of collecting rainwater from rooftops and directing it to an appropriate location where it is stored for the future use. That is the method of water harvesting, that is rainwater harvesting. On an average, one spell of rain for 2 hours is enough to save 8,000 liters of water. So that is the reason nowadays, like you can say, rainwater harvesting, it has been suggested for each and every society also to have something related to rainwater harvesting so that we can save the water for the future use. Now let's begin with the next topic, that is natural vegetation and wildlife. Okay, natural vegetation and wildlife exist only in the narrow zone of contact, that is between the lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere. And children, you all know very well that is only called as biosphere. You have learned this in your lower classes also. Now in the biosphere, living beings are interrelated and interdependent. See, without this interdependency, the survival is very difficult. So it is like living beings have to interrelated and interdependent on each other for the survival. And this life supporting system is known as the ecosystem. Now we know vegetation and wildlife are valuable resources, right? Even we know very well there are innumerable uses of plants. See, plants provide us with timber, give shelters to animals. Even it gives you the oxygen that is most important for us for breathing, right? Even it protects soils to essential for growing crops. Even it acts as a shelter belt and it helps in the storage of underground water and gives us the fruits, nuts, turpentine oil, gum, medicinal plants, and the most important thing, the paper that we use in our day-to-day life. See, if we'll keep on counting, there are innumerable uses of plants. Still, we can add many more in that, right? Whereas wildlife includes animals, birds, insects, as well as aquatic life forms. Insects like bees provide us honey and help in the pollination of flowers, and even they have an important role to play as decomposers in the ecosystem. The birds feed on insects and act as decomposers as well. Now, let us talk about the vulture. Vulture, due to its ability to feed on the dead livestock, it is called as the scavenger, and also it is considered a vital cleanser of the environment. So children, we have seen like all the animals, the size doesn't matter whether it is big or small. All are integral. It means all are important to maintain the balance in the ecosystem, right? Now let's move to the next topic, that is distribution of natural vegetation. See, we know the growth of vegetation depends primarily on two factors, that is the temperature and moisture. The major vegetation types of the world are grouped as forest, grasslands, scrubs and tundra. Now let's understand all this forest, grasslands, scrubs and tundra in detail here. Now, children, in areas of heavy rainfall, huge trees may thrive. The forests are thus associated with areas having abundant water supply. As the amount of moisture decreases, the size of the trees and their density reduces. So, short stunted trees and the grasses grow in the regions of moderate rainfall, forming the grasslands of the world. Even if we'll talk about the thorny shrubs and scrubs that grow in the dry areas of low rainfall. In such areas, plants have deep roots and leaves with the thorny and the waxy surface. That is why they have like this, the leaves like this, that helps in reducing the loss of moisture through the transpiration. So tundra vegetation of cold polar regions comprise of the mosses and lichen. But today's problem, children, if we'll talk about that, there are many more people in the world than there were 2 centuries back, right? To feed the growing numbers as the population is increasing, right? The large areas of forest have been cleared for what? To grow crops, correct? So forest cover all over the world is vanishing rapidly. There, so there is an urgent need to conserve this valuable resource. Now let's see how we need to conserve this. Conservation of natural vegetation and wildlife. See, we know very well forests are a wealth, like plants give shelter to the animals and together they help in maintaining the balance in the ecosystem. Correct? This is what you have learned. So changes of climate and human interferences can cause the loss of natural habitats for the plants and animals. So many species have become vulnerable or endangered, and some are on the verge of extinction. So deforestation, soil erosion, constructional activities, forest fire, tsunami, landslides, these are some of the human made and the natural factors which together accelerate the process of extinction of these great natural resources. Then One of the major concerns is the poaching, which result in the sharp decline in the number of particular species. See, the animals are poached for collection and illegal trade of hides, skin. See, animals' hides, skins, nails, teeth, horns, as well as feathers. These all are the valuable things. So some of these animals, such as tiger, lion, elephant, deer, black buck, crocodile, rhinoceros, even snow leopard, ostrich, and peacock, these animals need the conservation. How the conservation can be done by increasing awareness among the people. So what should be done? The national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, even the biosphere reserves are to be made to protect our natural vegetation and wildlife. And even the conservation of creeks, lakes, and wetlands is necessary to save the precious resource from depletion. Now let's understand the meaning of the national park. What is that? A natural area designated to protect the ecological integrity of one or more ecosystems for present as well as for the future generation also. Even biosphere reserves, we saw that is also one of the method, like where the conservation can natural vegetation and wildlife can be protected, right? What is that biosphere reserves? That is a series of protected areas linked through a global network. Global means it is all over the world, we can say then, intended to demonstrate the relationship between conservation and development. See, there is a balance in the environment if the relative number of species is not disturbed. But human activities in several parts of the world have disturbed this natural habitats of many species. So what is this? Due to indiscriminate killing, several birds and animals have either they have become extinct or they are at the verge of the extinction. So what should be done for that? Awareness programs should be done. Even many countries, what they have done, they have passed the laws against the trade as well as killing of birds and animals, and that they have given it as illegal deed. Okay, so that is like if they are doing all this, they will be punished. The law has been passed according to that. And what apart from that, the awareness programs should be done, like the social forestry and one mahotsav should be encouraged at the regional and the community level. Even the school children should be encouraged to bird watch and visit nature camps so that they appreciate the habitat of varied species. Even the other way, that is an international convention sites, that is what is the full form of CITES sites, that is Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. So what is that? That should be established that lists several species of animals and birds in which trade is prohibited. Even conservations of plants and animals in an ethical, it is an ethical duty of each and every citizen of the country, right? It is not like we are not away from this. Even we have to play an important role in this as the citizens in conservation of plants and animals, right? So what is actually the purpose of CITES is like it aims to ensure that international trade in specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten their survival. So they look after this. It has been published specially to protect the species of the animals and the birds, and their trade should be prohibited. That is the main aim of the CITES. So children, in today's lecture, we have completed the remaining two topics of our chapter, that is water, natural vegetation and wildlife. So here today we have completed with the revision of our chapter number 2, right? So children, go through the main videos as well as the revision videos and prepare yourself for the exams very well. Now see you in the next session with the revision of some new chapter. Till then children, take care. Thank you.